Lots of aerial action here at the Honda Indy 300. Curiously, this fleet of choppers you're seeing are actually not from the Air Force. We've got the Navy, Sea King and Sea Hawks. These are the Iroquois supplied by the Army. 171 Operational Support Squadron based in Oakey in Queensland. And many fans here. We will bring you a count later in the day of just how many hundreds of thousands we expect to get over the 3 days. They reckon 300 as we go back to the Iroquois for a moment, but bringing Marcos through and Matthew White into the puzzle here. They're taking the covers off those windscreens now, but it gives you an idea, gentlemen, just how difficult it is for the drivers here. Very hot conditions in those cars.
This is one of those pieces of the puzzle that you were talking about, Billy, as we get ready for the warm-up session of the Gillette V8 Supercar Challenge. The puzzle this time is the heat. They've been through it before, especially on the streets of Adelaide, and now they're going to have to come and do it here for the first time for championship points on the streets of Surfers Paradise. It is particularly hot out there right now. You can see some of those flags moving around. So there is a bit of a sea breeze. It's a nor'easter coming through, but really this concrete canyon, the tarmac underneath, and the roar and the heat coming through the brakes, the engines of these V8 supercars is making life very difficult inside the cockpit. They've got the umbrellas out, they're hydrating and rehydrating, and our pit reporters are standing by. Rusty's down there. And so too is Grant Denyer. A little bit of a misfire for Mark Scaife as he tries to pull out, and car 21 with Bradley Jones now gets rolling again. Marcus Ambrose is underway. Rusty.
Matty, the quickest man yesterday, Garth Tander in car 34. I said to him just a minute ago, are you going to leave this car alone? He said, no, we're not. We've stiffened up the suspension on this car. We've taken a bit of rear wing off it. They're going to trial it for a couple of laps in this warm-up. If it doesn't work, they're going back to the base that worked yesterday afternoon.
Yeah, that's the beauty of a warm-up session. The engineers go away overnight and think, well, maybe we can just tweak it a little bit more. We'll try that in the warm-up, but they've always got a safety net to work with. If it doesn't work, they can go back to the settings that proved so fast yesterday. You're talking about the heat here, Matty, and it really is so hot down there. You can see those flags flapping in the breeze. You would expect to get a pretty cooling breeze from the sea, but when you're standing down there in that pit apron, it is so hot down there. Heat gets trapped within these concrete walls, a lot of tall buildings around as well. And there's an enormous amount of temperature in that bitumen, so...
Just about double it for the cockpit temperature, couldn't you? Inside, there's not a lot of room inside these big V8 supercars. There's plenty of muscle in them, but nothing in the cockpit.
Bit of debris blowing across the circuit. We saw dramas with plastic bags getting stuck in air intakes at Mount Panorama 2 weeks ago. And this is a place where you certainly wouldn't want that to happen. Sky-high temperatures, enormous brake temperatures. These cars will rely very heavily on getting cooling air to those, particularly those front brakes, which take an enormous amount of punishment around here. Even in a cool track condition, running 22 laps or 100 Ks around here flat out is marginal in terms of giving the brakes a hard time, but in high temperatures, they're going to be very difficult toward the end of this race.
The things to look out for during this warm-up session, one of them right there is the amount of witches' hats, the cones left.
Oops.
Well, Russell Ingall found the runoff area, car number 8. The amount of cones that they've actually left around the Foster chicane, you might have seen throughout the Champ Car qualifying that they had a bit of a problem there and removed those cones which were bolted down. Now, I can tell you throughout our practice sessions that we've had in the last day or so, curb hopping was a major issue. If you go over those curbs and take out the witches' hats or go over them, you're going to get a drive-through penalty. And in fact, Craig Baird in the Team Brock car 54 in the first practice session had the plug pulled on his practice session, if you like, just too much curb hopping. They gave him drive-through penalty after drive-through penalty, and then they said, mate, that's enough. You've got to come in and park the car for the rest of the session. He lost valuable time as a result. We've got to see what the officials are going to do throughout the course of the next hour or so. Will the V8s have to continue to monitor this curb hopping, or will they be given a little bit more leeway? And if they do, you can be rest assured that the lap times will come down dramatically, because they're already falling dramatically as it is. This is the problem that Russell Ingall had. Just seen go through before one of his teammates there and locked her up straight through. He was meant to go that way. He ended up that way. That's turn 8, Falcon Corner.
Some of these teams are so concerned about brake temperatures, Matthew. We've even heard of some of them, like the Paul Wheel team, the K&J thermal car, installing wet or cold water sprayers onto the front brakes. And we're not sure how many other cars have gone for that system, but that's how concerned they are about how tough it's going to be on brakes around here. And they start to get too hot. Oh!
No! The Valvoline Cummins car, that's Garth Tander. That's our provisional pole sitter.
He's come off turn 3. Let's have a listen.
Yeah, a little bit of interference there on the radio, but I did pick up that the steering wheel is out of alignment, and it was a reasonable hit.
Work out which way the steering is pulling, please, mate. Steering wheel is down on the
Well, guys, he's been on the radio. Let's have a look at it here on the replay. Let's see what happens.
Rusty, straight into the back.
He says the steering wheel has gotten out of alignment as a result of that. We'll have to have a closer look at the damage. Apparently,
yeah, I've got some steering.
Maybe steering okay the way he's talking on the radio at the moment. So we'll see just what happens. Just to give you an idea, temperature-wise at the moment, you talked about that heat before. 36 degrees ambient, the track temperature is 39, and they monitored the cabin temperature at the same time when the cars were out yesterday. Inside those cockpits at the moment, 59 degrees.
Unbelievable. Mark Scaife has shown that he's going to be one to watch here. He's just done a 1:51.96. That equals what was the fastest pole time here before they did those scintillating laps yesterday. Here's Team Kiwi. Jason Richards in trouble, 0:21. The all-black Commodore. So a 1:51.96 in these very hot conditions. The question here is going to be how much consistency can they get out of these cars over 22 laps.
Well, those cones were such a big issue yesterday and how many drivers were penalised. I just had a word to Colin Bond, the driver's standing advisor, and he has said although some of the cones are missing, there is still a judge of fact on each corner, and they will still be determining whether a team is driving over where a cone was, even though they're not there now. There will be a little bit more tolerance than yesterday on the areas where there are no cones, but they are still coming down just as heavy.
So you tell me that's not going to cause some controversy. Yeah. That's coming right down to the corner spotter's judgment of whether they were close to the cones or not that don't exist anymore.
I'll tell you the process, what happens there. If you're wondering at home, these guys, as Grant said, they're judges of fact. They're spotters down at each corner, if you like, where the curbs are. They've got a radio back to race control. Just say this car did it, car number 4, too much curb hopping. The spotter would yell out 4. Every time that number pops up in race control, they start to take a look. A little bit of a problem there through turn 1. That's when they start to focus on that particular car. Too many times, if the number is called out, you'll get yourself a drive-through penalty. It's just simply, the officials will simply not stand these big V8 supercars to go bouncing across the curbs as they work feverishly on the rear end, and you can see the damage that has done to Garth Tander's car.
There's two interesting things there. He went into a tyre barrier, which would have greatly reduced the impact of the damage to the car. If they weren't there at turn 3, it would have been a much harder hit. You can see they're just trying to kick the panel back out to get him onto the track. The other interesting thing Greg Rust mentioned before, they have made a change overnight. They've stiffened up the car, a little less rear wing. Maybe that contributed to that accident for Garth Tander.
Well, it makes you wonder, doesn't it, Mark? Yesterday, to bring you up to speed, what happened in the qualifying session, Gary Rogers Motorsport led the way. That car, Garth Tander, that you just saw, did a 1:51.004, a blistering lap. So it makes you wonder what was wrong with the car in the first place. Why stiffen it up in this warm-up session? There's around about 8 minutes left in this session, and the top 10 shootout still to come. Mark Scaife has the second best time at the moment at 1:51.862. Ambrose with a 51.366.
Garth Tander so early in the session.
Yeah, just locked the rears up going into A&A, and then it spun around and I hit the wall. So not the way to start the day, but the boys will fix her up. We'll be off in the shootout.
We heard you were making some changes to the car to stiffen it up to try some new things. Do you think that may have contributed to the accident?
No, we hadn't tried those yet. We're going to do it during the session. So the car was the same as we finished yesterday. Just had new pads in the front, so maybe they weren't working as well as they should have been, and caught me out. So stupid mistake, but it happens, unfortunately.
Can you get back out?
Oh, we won't make it out in the warm-up, but the boys will get ready for the shootout. So luckily we qualified pole, so we've got plenty of time during the shootout to fix it.
Yeah, know what you need. Thanks, Garth.
Thanks, mate.
Just talking to one of the guys from AP, who was saying temperatures here on the front brakes are around 700 degrees on the front, and it bumps up even more if you get in behind someone and caught in traffic. But it's an important factor this weekend. Temperatures about 200 degrees more than normal. Most rounds around 500.
Sure is. What the drivers talk about is the Zero Motorsport cars in there of Craig Lowndes. What the drivers talk about is as the brakes start to fade, they get very hot. The brake pedal gets longer. They actually have to push it further. Now you think how difficult this circuit is, where you're braking and trying to turn, off-camber turns, lots of bumps. You've got to contend with a longer brake pedal as well. You quite often see the cars, because the fronts are starting to fade, more brake goes to the rear. Quite often they lock the rear brakes and spin. It could be full of drama toward the end of 22-lap race.
That little cooling system that you were talking about that we know that Paul Wheel has in his car number 43 and some of the other teams have it. It's just a pump spray. Literally, it's automatically activated. They do it along some of the straights there. Look at that. That just shows you the amount of heat that is going towards the front of that car as it brings it around turns 11 and 12. That little pump spray sprays a little bit of water. It's just enough to cool it down, only just.
Craig Lowndes has brought the 00 Motorsport Falcon in. He's a little down on himself at the moment. He made a mistake at turn 5. There is no damage on the car, but he's given the boys the thumbs up. He says the car is good right now.
David Bernard, he's jumped right up in the order in this warm-up, a 151.75, second only to Marcus Ambrose. So the two Gold Coast-based forwards, Marcus Ambrose and David Bernard, 1-2 at the moment.
Haven't Stone Brothers
2 tenths behind him.
come to here to race? They're talking to David Bernard there on the radio. Ambrose leading the way. Bernard now 3 tenths behind him. The car you're looking at, number 9, is a brand new one out of the Stone Brothers Racing garage. They built it within the space of a week after the other car, number 9, was written off at Mount Panorama before they even got to the race start. So it's a remarkable turnaround from David Bernard and the crew. Well, in fact, the crew more than ever, because they pieced it together bit by bit. It's a shiny looking beast. It's got the lights on and it's doing it right now for Bernard. 151.754 is his best time, 0.38 of a second behind his teammate Marcus Ambrose. And already we've got news of curb hopping on the course, and once again Craig Baird the victim.
Team Brock, car 54, we saw him get taken out of the practice session yesterday. He curb hopped so many times and served so many drive-throughs they actually stopped him running. And now he's been pinged once again, car 54. Team Brock has really been under the pump from these observers throughout these practice sessions.
There's Jason Richards in 021, and Jason Bargwana has also been given a drive-through while his teammates' crew continue to work.
The beauty of this for Garth Tander, as he said, because he's qualified on provisional pole, he will run last in the top 10 shootout. That gives the team even more time to get this car back into shape. Fortunately, as I said, there was a tyre barrier there that he spun into. Would have greatly minimised the potential damage to the car, and it looks like it's mostly superficial. Guys should have that car back in tip-top shape for the top 10 shootout. Team Brock coming in now. There's some conjecture going on. We hear from race control this was supposed to be a stop-go penalty. You are not allowed to do any work on the car during a drive-through. So if they've decided to come in and put fresh rubber on, he's still going to have to serve a separate drive-through penalty. Well,
one of the Avesco officials is down there right now. I just saw him checking that out, so I'm sure that if they're doing the wrong thing, they'll know about it very quickly.
Yeah,
Team Brock car 54. Just remember what they've got to do. It's not actually a stop-go penalty like we used to do in previous rounds of the championship. From this year, they've had to go right down through back to 40 kilometres from start to finish, all the way through pit lane, and then rejoin the race circuit proper. Rusty, you got some news on that 54 car?
Matty just had a word to some of the officials down here in pit lane. They are chatting with Team Brock now. It is okay. They are saying apparently Craig Baird was venturing his way into pit lane when he got the communique about the drive-through penalty. They've allowed him to come in, do the tyre change that he wanted. He's gone back out onto the track now, but it'll have to come straight back in car 54 and serve that drive-through penalty.
Yeah, that's the way they work it.
Pretty good time there from John Bow. He's moved up into third quickest, a 151.809 from the Aussie Mail Ford Falcon, the 888 car. Those guys were really in contention at Mount Panorama, weren't they? Brad Jones and John Bow, and then disaster struck. Just a $2 piece, I guess you could call it, and before you knew it, their race was gone. Look at Greg Murphy throwing the Kmart Commodore through the chicane. He's on a flyer. The last minutes, 2.5 minutes remaining around Falcon Corner. That's turn 8, the sharp right-hander now through FedEx and then Supercar Corner, and the tricky part, the hardest part, if you like. From 155 Ks, they've got to back it right down for this tricky left-hander and line up the main Caltex Haviline Straight. Flames shoot out of the rear left exhaust. Greg Murphy. His best time has been a 152.84. Yet to go into the 51s throughout this session. We'll see what he posts there. Comes across
second.
The start-finish line in second, 151.485.
It's only a hair's breath left in the session, but still the fastest at the moment. You must be wrapped again.
Yeah, look, it's 3 out of 4 so far, but this is just playing at the moment. You know, the real money comes out this afternoon, and we want to make sure we've got a good race car. So qualifying is important here, probably more important than any track we're going to go to. So, yeah, fingers crossed I'll work it out and get pole.
You seem to be better at dragging one flying lap out of that car than actually doing a really good long-distance race here. Do you think it's going to be a good top 10 for you?
Give me a break. I think I'm doing all right in the races. Thank you very much. Yeah, let's hope so. You know, you don't know what's around the corner, but we've worked really hard all year, and we've made mistakes this year by trying too hard, and really we're trying to tell ourselves, you know, it'll come, and we've just got to settle down a bit.
Guess what? Craig's just gone faster.
Oh, that's good for him. Excellent. At least it's a forward. It's good.
True sport.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, 151.33, 3/100ths of a second faster than Marcus Ambrose. How close do you like it? The battle at the top here. There's 3 Falcons in the top 4. Lowndes quickest, Marcus Ambrose second, Murphy third, Bernard is 4th. So time running out just under 30 seconds now till the end of this warm-up session. As Marcus Ambrose quite rightly said, this is not a money day.
Here he is, our 5-time series champion, officially crowned at Mount Panorama. What a weekend it was for Mark Skaife. Pole position, another race victory in the great race with Jimmy Richards and his 5th series crown. He's been rewriting the record books all season. And over the last couple of years, what has he got in store for us this weekend? But what about this man as well, Todd Kelly? One of the most consistent performers of the year. Teammate of Greg Murphy out of the Kmart Commodore team. Under the banner of Tom Walkinshaw Racing Australia. At the moment, Craig Lowndes still has the best time. A 151.336. And that is 2/100ths of a second quicker than Marcus Ambrose. So the Fords are leading the way here on the streets of Surfers Paradise. If you've been watching us throughout the V8 Supercar Championship of 2002, there hasn't been much to cheer about for the Blue Oval. Just the 1-round victory at the Queensland 500. Maybe they can turn it around here. The Gold Coast has been good to them, but remember, the championship points are on the line for the first time in 2002.
Well, the session's finished a few moments ago, but there's still some fast cars out there that managed to sneak through before the checker came out. Brad Jones, second quickest. There you go, a 151.36. He steps right up there, 2/100ths of a second. Slower than Craig Lowndes, so right at the death knot. Brad Jones pulls out a fast one.
Can't believe it. Bugger it.
Oh, can't believe it. Didn't sound happy with that.
Gee, I'd hate to see him when he's angry about something.
2/100ths of a second off provisional pole.
That was a fly. He won't be in the top 10 shootout, though.
No.
In fact, he ended up qualifying 11th. His best time was at 52.08, so he's much better than that, which was posted yesterday. We've got 4 Fords in the top 5 after that session. They've come in force, and they've come with speed. Brad Jones and John Bowe are making a habit out of having a last-minute crack in qualifying, practice and warm-up sessions. Look out for Jones. He'll be the second last man out. Sorry, John Bowe will be the second last man out in the top 10 shootout.
The interesting thing about those times too, they were set several laps into the session. Look at Brad Jones' fastest time was on his 7th lap, and Russell Ingall's quickest was on his 6th. So you can see it's usually taking 2 or 3 laps to cycle those tyres up to their optimum.
I'll tell you who are the top 10 shootout men. Stephen Richards, Max Wilson, Craig Lowndes, David Bernard, Mark Skaife, Marcus Ambrose, that man, Greg Murphy, Jason Bright, John Bowe and Garth Tander. The top 10 shootout is still to come. It's the Gillette V8 Supercar Challenge on the streets of Surfers for the Honda Indy 300. Come back and join us after this.